Stop overthinking. If you're anything like me, you have a lot of stuff going on in your mind all the time. There's all different aspects of your business. There's all different aspects of your life, and your mind is the central focus where you're making all the decisions all the time and constantly working in so many different directions. It gets to the point where you can't focus at all. And sometimes even particular topics will just make your mind churn. So on today's episode of Jump the Hump, we're going to go into 3 different tips for you to clear your mind and then go through a prioritization process of how you can really focus your mind on one thing at a time so that you can get something done. Because when we're going in so many different directions, we are taking our mental energy in too many different directions. And when we do that, not only is it's not very good for your brain, it's not very good for your productivity, and it kind of makes you feel crazy. So welcome to this episode of Jump the Hump, where we meet every 3rd Wednesday in the middle of the month to get you over the middle of the month, to get you to smooth sailing to the end of your goals this month. So I know you've got a lot of goals to accomplish, and I want to keep this brief. So we're going to have 3 tips today, one about clearing your mind, one about identifying all the things that are churning, and then the 3rd tip is about putting things into control for yourself so you'll know how to proceed, how to still your mind and create a calm voice inside that can give you access to your focus and inspiration. So I want to just say nothing's wrong with you. This is very typical, and it's a common factor when we have a really busy life and a really busy business, and especially when we're weaving the 2 things together. There's nothing wrong with you, but we want to teach you how to bring that calm into your mind, because the benefit of providing a single point of focus in your mind is that you are more effective. Your mind, your mental energy is going in one channel at a time, which means you're going to get whatever you're focusing on is going to get done like 10 times faster than it would if you were doing that one thing while you're multitasking over here and over here. And so it's an efficiency technique. And also, if you can really cultivate this peace of mind and stillness in your mind. Now, this is a spiritual technique. Lots of gurus. I aim for 1 minute a day of silence in my mind. Sri Prabhupada taught me that. And it seems doable, right? Just 1 minute. And I still, it's not the easiest thing for me. When I get there, I feel this like an opening in my mind that allows divine spiritual energy to come in, and it feels like this sweet breeze that is just blessing the inside of my head. And if I only get that for a couple of seconds, I'm good. I feel a lot better. All right, let's go right into our first tip. The first tip is to take all that stuff out of your head and put it on the page. So one process for this that I really like, and this is especially good if you're overthinking about a few different particular topics. So there's like the overthinking that's almost like obsessive thinking, and when you're trying to solve particular problems. And then there's the overthinking that's the lack of focus, that is just, I'm going in 60 million directions at once. Which one do I choose next? And Geminis like me, we really have this particular issue. So the first thing to do is free writing. I learned this from the Artist's Way book a long time ago, and I love free writing because it's a clearing process. And depending on how much clutter you've got going on in there, you might want to do this more times than just once. But go for 15 minutes for your first sitting. Get some paper out. Maybe it's better if it doesn't have lines on it, some printer paper, and just brain dump. This is no editing. There's no going back and crossing things out. It's literally just writing as fast as you can. Anything that comes to mind, anything and everything that comes to mind. And it could just be free writing is dumb, free writing is dumb, free writing is dumb. That's okay, because you're going to start to get through the layers of all of that complexity that's churned up in your mind. And then your mind doesn't feel like it's got to, there's some kind of psychological trick happening here. There's some kind of peace of mind that begins to develop when your mind doesn't have, it feels like, oh, okay, it's safely trapped on a page. I don't have to think about it so much. So it's better to just dump your brain first. Okay, so tip number 2, after you do free writing, you're gonna, for a while, until you kind of feel like you're played out, and it might take a couple of different sittings. Do yourself this favor. It's so worth every 15 minutes you take to clear your mind out. So the next thing is you're going to start to see the patterns. You're going to start to notice, what am I spending more time churning about? What am I spending more time churning about? And so these are some items that the second thing that I want you to do is to start making some lists. So you might want to make categorized lists. It depends on like what level of organization you are, but just make a list of all the stuff you have on your mind. So now you've done the clearing part, and now this is going to be some mental organization. We're going to mental organization direction. So make the lists, and then I'm going to ask you, now I'm jumping into tip number 3, I'm going to ask you to prioritize the list. So what we're aiming for is, let's do your top 10. I'm gonna make an assumption that you've really got a lot going on in that brain of yours. So let's go for the top 10. And with your top 10 list, prioritize those in sequence. And then the third tip of today is to literally pick one. I'm going to be forgiving. I'm going to be permissive and let you go to 2 different things to focus on. So I'm going to tell you a story. I had a friend one time, and everything was up in his life. And he also had this obsessive thinking thing like we do. He was churning on all these different things that were happening in his life. And I taught him this process, and I said, your brain is not really capable of solving 10 problems at one time. It's really not that good at solving even 5 problems at one time, or even 3. So this is why I'm telling you 1, maybe 2 things at a time. That's just so you can take a break and switch off between the 2 different things, and take a break and then go back and just focus on 1 thing at a time, and then think it all the way through. Think it all the way through. Think about the pros and cons. Now, going back to your list, this is where you will identify that you might have some emotional content to some of these areas. So one of the areas that my friend had was related to a new relationship that, you know, it had been a while since he was in a relationship. He didn't really know how to evaluate whether this is a good one or not. And another one was related to a living situation. Should I stay in town? Should I move to this other location? You know, and he was churning. So give your mind time to focus on everything you need to think about for one particular topic. Do yourself that favor. So weigh all the pros and cons. Think about the details of everything that matter. Think about worst case scenarios and best case scenarios. And of course, I'm a big fan of envisioning. But once you go through all this process and you come to some type of understanding and path forward on the first priority on your list, and maybe you made some progress on priority number 2, then you have the visible means, like you know your path forward. It's been figured out, and your mind can just go, okay, I know what I need to do for that thing. And it's a huge relief, because I think we get dopamine and all kinds of like jazzy chemicals when we come to a conclusion about something. So give yourself this idea, give yourself the benefit of focusing on one thing, thinking it all the way through, getting to your clarity, getting to your clear path, and then go on to the next one. So you're going to do yourself a favor by turning off the multitasking, by calming down the number and volume of your thoughts. through these 3 different tips. And so I want to let you know that I've got lots of these different tips for mental peace and calm so that you can achieve your focus and so that you can achieve that like center point in the mind, like I mentioned at the top, where you have a clarity and a calmness, because in that state of consciousness, that's where you can really connect with your flow, and that's where you can really connect with inspiration. And the best ideas come to you when you're calm. Your creativity is online. So I want that for you. So focus on 1 or 2 priorities tops, and then relax, open your mind. You can use the free writing as a creative brainstorming technique as well. So I hope that you've enjoyed these tools and techniques. So if you like these and you want more of these, then send me a personal message and we'll get you a copy of my 7 tips to stop overthinking. So I want to thank you for being with me today, and thank you so much to all my live attendees. And I wish you all the best success in your life. So this is Octavia Brooks, Shamanic Success Mentor, signing off for today.